yoga, namely Vaidhi Bhakti, what we're doing, until somehow or other we may get very blessed with the opportunity to meet a really high-class realized Vaishnava in which we can follow their lead and hear from them and get imparted the realizations that they have, they were gifted. So, but it's totally by good fortune. You can't, you can't even measure or calculate the good fortune that one gets from meeting such a Vaishnava. So, we ended Saturday, with the verse, "Who else but the gross materialist will neglect such transcendental thought and take to the non-permanent names only, seeing the mass of people fallen in the river of suffering as the consequence of accruing the result of their own work." So that transcendental thought that it's referring to is rendering service unto the supersoul situated in one's own heart by his omnipotency, because he is the Almighty Personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited, and he is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshipping him one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. So this the conclusion here is that why have so many material considerations when God is in your heart and you achieving him is the topmost goal of life, and this will bring the topmost happiness. This will be the great benediction of having a human life, is you can have a higher intellectual capacity to understand God, and then from there there could be an actual relationship initiated. So, and you can understand the spiritual reality, where every other species is just too unsteady, of the mind is way too unsteady, and they just, like if you have a dog here, and then you put a female dog, and they're both in their rut or mating season, you'll not be able to tell the dog. You'll not even train the dog. Sit down, Maybe a really well-trained dog, maybe, but there's no way he's going to get into meditation and realize anything, nor could, the dog's consciousness. It's just based off of instinct: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. No realization of what is matter, what is spirit, who you are, who is God, what's the point of this all. None of these higher thoughts. This is only for the human being. But unfortunately, the human being, the large majority of them, they live like animals. So they think all day, they wake up, and then they go to work. They're like, oh, what can I get for my eating, my sleeping, my mating, and defending? How can I maintain all these things? So they, and they'll neglect the transcendental thought and take to the non-permanent names only. Like, oh, well, I'm a working man, I have this profession, I've got this wife, I have to maintain this type of family, I have to give honor to this type of relatives, and so on. And these are all just non-permanent situations that have nothing to do with the eternal reality of who you are and, your relationship to the God. But those people are actually in a river of suffering as a consequence of accruing the results of their own works. When you take to non-permanent activities, the result's always suffering, because it all ends. It just can't be maintained. You try your best, but you can't maintain it. Even here I'm seeing, we're trying to take to the eternal process of growing in Krishna consciousness. But if I'm getting attached to the idea that, like, oh, we have a growing, thriving community, which isn't like that's not the eternal thing. The eternal thing is that we're taking the Krishna consciousness and we're sharing Krishna consciousness with others. But for the Syracuse yatra to be thriving and growing, and it may for some time, but everything is temporary. Some of the biggest, most prominent places in the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement across the West was Buffalo. And now you go to Buffalo, it's like a wasteland, barren. There's no devotional activities there. Practically nothing. We did one or two programs there, but there's practically nothing there. So it's all these temporary arrangements here. So if you get very caught up in these aspects of things, then you'll suffer, accruing the result of your work, because as you do karma in this world, the consequence is always suffering, either now or later. And by enjoying now, you suffer later. It's just how it works. Actually, it's because you started to enjoy that now the suffering must come when you lose it. To the degree that you enjoy it is the degree that you'll suffer later. So it's so it's a problem. But the gross materialists, they don't care, they don't realize, and this is their system. They are dictated by the laws of karma. But the transcendentalist, who is trying to rise above, find solutions to the problems of life, namely that we're here, we're born, we're aging, there's all kinds of forces of disease and other things that are trying to kill us, and then ultimately we have to die, and no one wants to. But there is solutions to this. The solution is actually knowing what you are and what's actually dying, because it's not you that's dying, it's the temporary thing that you're identifying with, namely the body and the mind. So anyhow, but gross materialists, they don't have this type of intelligence to understand all these things. So they just identify with the body and mind, and they try to get the so-called pleasures of the body and mind, sense gratification. And then they suffer as the body and mind deteriorates in this world, and all of the things that they accrue deteriorate in this world. That's the nature of it. And because they've fallen in the river of suffering. So, don't be that type of person, the gross materialist. So now we'll do this verse today, but before we begin, we'll do our Mangalacharan here.
Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Vidati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Advaitang Savatutang Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shivani Pashti Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare obeisances onto Sri Guru. And Sri Guru has come in a few different forms in my life to help assist me and my wife and many people I know grow in their Krishna consciousness. I'd like to thank offer my love and heart to the entire Gaudiya Guru Varga, including Srila Prabhupada, whose work we're reading right now. And we seek to receive their mercy. And finally, I'd like to offer my obeisance to all the Vaishnavas, to you both here. Krishna is always maintaining we have 2 people in Bhagavatam class. I haven't had a 1-person Bhagavatam class in a long time. So,
Deeply and Parth online.
yes, and Deepthi and Parth are also here. Very good. So we have 4 in spirit and heart. It's here. So I want to offer my obeisance to all my spiritual brothers and sisters. Vanchakalpatarubhishya kripasinubhyo patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Alright, well, we're making advancement here in the Bhagavatam. We're trying not to be this gross materialist who focuses on the temporary activities of this world, and we realize the higher purpose, and that's to establish the relationship with Godhead. So now, this verse will begin to describe the Lord of the heart. So it's called Shira Dakshai Vishnu. Kechit swadehanta hridaya vakashe Pradesha matrang purushang vasantam Chaturbhujang kanjarathanga shankha Gadadarang daranaya smaranti Kechit, others, Swadeha Anta, within the body, Hridaya Avakashe, in the region of the heart, Pradesha Matram, measuring only 8 inches, Purusham, the personality of Godhead, Vasantam, residing, Chatubhujam, with 4 hands, Kanja, lotus, Rathanga, the wheel of a chariot, Shankha, Kansha, Gadadaram, and with a club in the hand, Dharanaya, conceiving in that way, Smaranti, do meditate upon him. So translation is saying, others conceive of the personality of Godhead residing within the body in the region of the heart, and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club, respectively. It's interesting, carrying the wheel of a chariot. Purport. The all-pervading personality of Godhead resides as Paramatma in the heart of each and every living entity. The measurement of the localized personality of Godhead is estimated to expand from the ring finger to the end of the thumb. So where is that here? The ring finger to the so from here to here. That's how big the Lord is in the heart, like this. So very good. Hare Krishna, Craig. Just so you know, we're studying the Lord of the heart. And it's just been told by Srila Prabhupada that the Lord of the heart is this big, from the ring finger to the edge of the thumb. So
that's what now?
The Lord of the heart, Shira Dakshai Vishnu, the Lord in everyone's heart. So he's this big.
Really?
Yeah. So now you know.
That's a lot bigger than I said.
Yeah.
Actually, it's depicted like that even in that picture.
Yeah. So that's the measurement given here. So it's saying more or less 8 inches. The form of the Lord described in this verse with distribution of different symbols, beginning from the lower right hand and up and down to the lower left hand with lotus wheel of a chariot, conch shell, and club respectively, is called Janardhan, or the plenary portion of the Lord, who controls the general masses. So the controller of the Jan, the people. There are many other forms of the Lord who with varied situations of the symbol of lotus, conch shell, etc., and they are differently known as Purushottam, Achyuta, Narashingam, Trivikram, Rishikesh, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, Sridhar, Vasudeva, Damodar, Janardhan, Narayan, Hari, Padmanabh, Vaman, Madhusudan, Govinda, Krishna, Vishnumurti, Adhokshaja, and Upendra. These are the different forms of Vishnu. If you just alternate the order that he's holding the lotus, the conch, the mace, and the chakra, because there's so many varieties of how he can hold it, that'll be the form of the Lord. So anyway, this is, I don't know, I always had a hard time relating to this. Okay, how is this relevant for me? I can't really go any further on that. So anyhow, these 24 forms of the localized personality of Godhead are worshipped in different parts of the planetary system, and in each system there is an incarnation of the Lord, having a different Vaikuntha planet in the spiritual sky, which is called the Paravyom. There are many other hundreds and scores of different forms of the Lord, and each and every one of them has a particular planet in the spiritual sky, of which this material sky is only a fragmental offshoot. The Lord exists as Purush, or the male enjoyer, although there is no comparing him to any male form in the material world. But all such forms are Advaita, non-different from one another, and each of them is eternally young. The young Lord with 4 hands is nicely decorated, as described below. So we're describing this Lord that the yogis can see in the heart. And remember, what did Shukadeva Goswami do? He's describing the yoga process, setting your family duties aside, purifying yourself with, being clean and giving a proper seat, controlling the mind, and chanting your mantra. We do this every day. This is what we're supposed to do when we chant the japa Maha Mantra. We're supposed to, purify ourselves and situate ourselves and approach the Lord via mantra, because this is the vehicle to control the mind and actually experience the Lord internally. So this is what's going on here. And then the fruit of that is that you can actually have darshan of the Lord within your consciousness. So, and that's very nice. But even above that is the pure devotees. They can have darshan of the Lord, His pastimes, experience His qualities, and have internal lila. This is very advanced, but this is, even on a higher plane here. Because we have to remember what's the dream. This is the dream. Everything outside that we see, the job, the wife, the kids, the family, this is all the dream. We're not like, oh, I have no time for bhakti. I've got this. Yes, I have no time to be awake. I have to sleep more and I have to dream more. That's really what we're telling. That's what we're doing. But the actual real reality isn't the external sense projections. It's the internal experience, actually. That's why the Swarup Shakti, or the energy of the Lord, is called the Antaranga Shakti, the internal potency, as you've probably heard many times. So this is real reality. Real reality isn't, oh, I've got to do this, I got to do this. Real reality is, I have to chant my mantras and really, So yes, then we do engage the external things in devotional service, but it's to bring us back to that internal reality, because it's very difficult for an ordinary person to just sit and then eventually the turbulent mind is like, no, I gotta do this, and you can't do it. It's impossible. But by engaging in devotional service, the mind will naturally be soothed and can very easily go internally, where it'll be much more effortless, actually.
Dovetail or external.
Yeah, that's exactly. We're dovetailing the external in the processes of bhakti. So, and what will happen eventually is that we'll start to have the internal experience externally in doing that, and then eventually it'll be very easy for us to just have the internal experience, because that's what we're already doing. Krishna is allowing us to do that. So anyway, but this is describing the internal realization of the Paramatma realized yogi. So let's continue. Prasanna Vaktrang Nalinaya Tekshanang Kadamba Kinjalka Pishanga Vasasam Lasan Maharatna Hiranmayangadang Sforan Maharatna Kirita Kundalam. Prasanna expresses happiness. Vaktram, mouth. Nalina ayata, spread like the petals of a lotus. Ikshanam, eyes. Kadamba, the kadamba flower. Kinjalka, saffron. Pishanga, yellow. Vasasam, garments. Lasat, hanging. Maharatna, valuable jewels. Hiranmaya, made of gold. Angadam, ornament. Svarat, glowing. Maharatna, valuable jewels. It took me off. Did it end the
No,
thing?
it just pauses it.
Okay. Maharatna, valuable jewels. Kirita, headdress. Kundalam, earrings. So, like the lasat kundalam, the hanging earrings. So anyhow, translation. His mouth expresses his happiness. His eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a kadamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. So this is, we've probably seen in paintings, the science of self-realization. You've seen this book, Black Book. You know, the Lord is in like this effulgence, and this is what's being described here. So you can look at this. But text 10, I don't have deep. Oh yes, I see him now. Look, he's just like this. It's not like that for me. So,
I didn't hear what you were saying.
so I was saying because I'm not experiencing the Lord this way. I can't close my eyes and like, yes, I see it. It's definitely confirmed. I really don't have. It's only theoretical knowledge to me, which is no knowledge. But this is the description of the Lord, given in the heart. And advanced devotees can see this. Unidrihrit pankaja karni kalaye Yogeshwara stapita padapalavam Shri Lakshanam Kostubaratna Kandaram Amlana Lakshmya Vanamala Yachitam Unidra, blooming. Hrit, heart. Pankaja, lotus flower. Karnika alaye, on the surface of the world. Yoga Ishwar, the great mystics. Asthapita, placed. Padapalavam, lotus feet. Shri, the goddess of fortune, or a beautiful calf. Lakshanam, marked in that way. Kostuba, the Kostuba jewel. Ratna, other jewels. Kandaram, on the shoulder. Amlana, quite fresh. Lakshmya, beauty. Vanamalaya, by a flower garland. Achitam, spread over. His lotus feet are placed over the whorls of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. On his chest is the Kostuba jewel, engraved with the beautiful calf, and there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. So I don't have realization of these description, but what I can tell you, just actually from whatever bit of mystic yoga I practiced, because I did do some practice, that was how I entered Krishna consciousness, that there is actually, especially in all parts of the bodies, there's realization of the energy centers of the body called chakras. They open like lotuses. So, and each chakra has a certain, lotus-like energy, a way of enveloping and opening when you actually can direct the energy, and you can envision it all in the third eye actually. So I have some small experience with this, but it's interesting to me that the Lord, he stands on the lotus-like hearts of the mystic, and that's just what I thought about. Maybe if I were to have continued my mystic yoga experiences, maybe that's what I would have come, if the Lord so desired. So anyway, that's just something that I thought of. I thought maybe I would share. But this is perceived by, even I can have perceived it, but this is perceived by the yogis who engage in this meditation. So purport: the ornaments, flowers, clothing, and all other decorations on the transcendental body of the personality of Godhead are identical with the body of the Lord. None of them are made of material ingredients, otherwise there would be no chance of their decorating the body of the Lord. As such, in the Paravyoma, the spiritual varieties are also distinguished from the material variegatedness. So in the material world, our ornaments and things, everything is separate from ourselves. Even our body is separate from ourselves. But the Lord, they're actually identical, all of his ornaments, all of his whole body. You know, we're a soul separate from our body, but encaged by a material body. But he is total spirit, his body's total spirit, and even all of his ornaments are total spirit. It's a completely different...
That can also mean, like when we put flowers and garlands and dresses on Krishna, they become spiritual from the deities.
Yes, so that's the bhakti yoga process. In the Bhagavatam, Krishna is compared to like a magical mirror. A normal mirror, you look in the mirror and you see the same thing that is going on here, but it's a reflection. It's not real. You can't touch it. Oh yes, you see, a bear in the mirror. He's holding the bear in the mirror. You can't grab the reflection and take it. But Krishna is described in such a way that he can take a reflection and turn them into real things. And how can that be done? Through bhakti. So when we take a reflected flower, everything in this material world is reflected. Even when we take our body, when we take our mind, and all earthly paraphernalia, time, place, circumstances, ingredients, mind, body, soul, and even our dealings in our relationships in society, and we offer them to Krishna, they become real. That's like the amazing thing. He's like a mystical, magical mirror that turns ordinary, dreamlike, dull reflections into real, tangible things for spiritual advancement, for our real reality to awaken. So yes, those flowers that we offer to the deities, they become, real, really utilized. They're real. They're actually awakening your realization of God. They're perfect. So anyway, this is the description. This will be in the I think the second end of this canto or the third canto. Krishna, it will be described by Narada Muni what type of very interesting allegories are given of the Lord. But like a magical mirror is one of them. That takes the reflections and turns them real. Actually gives you something from the reflections. So that's this bhakti process. Everything that we're doing, all paraphernalia that we're using, they're really being utilized properly, even though they would otherwise be external and a reflection. So anyway, this is a little philosophical, but let's keep going. Vibhushitang me kalayanguliyake Mahadanernu kankanadibi Snigdhamala kunchita nila kuntale Virochamanana hasapeshalam Vibhushitam, well decorated, mekalaya, with an ornamental wreath about the waist. Anguliyakai, by fingerings. Mahadanai, all highly valuable. Nupura, ringing leglets. Kankana Adibi, also by bangles. Snigdha, slick. Amala, spotless. Akunchinta, curling. Neela, bluish. Kuntalai, hair. Birochamana, very pleasing. Anana, face. Hasa, smile. Peshalam, beautiful. So, all these descriptions. This is, we'll read this. He's well decorated with an ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers. His leglets, his bangles, his oiled hair, curling with a bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the most beautiful person amongst all others, and Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes every part of his transcendental beauty, one after another, in order to teach the impersonalists that the personality of Godhead is not an imagination by the devotee for facility of worship, but is the Supreme Person in fact and figure. The impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth is but his radiation, as the sun rays are but radiations from the sun. So we can experience the sun rays right now. We're not looking directly into the sun, are we? But we're seeing through the energies of the sun. So the Lord has innumerable impersonal energies that we're perceiving reality from, or perceiving something. Lots of illusion, mostly illusion we're perceiving. But actually there is a personality behind reality, so this is what's being described. If we, also, the deity form, this is, we mentioned, we were talking about how Krishna makes the reflections real. When Krishna is invited into the deity form through the Pranapratishta ceremony performed by the devotee, the Lord of the heart experienced by the devotee is transferred into the deity. We actually have deities like that here from Narayan Maharaj. The Gauranitai deities are the... and it's said that Lord actually becomes present in those what would otherwise be material statues. And we've experienced here by worshipping them that actually realization of those personalities in the heart can unfold. Because the heart of the sadhu, the Lord in the heart of the sadhu has come into them. And then now also we can have realization of what the sadhus experience in the heart gradually by worshipping them. So this is the process of deity worship as well. But even the deities, they try to be designed in such a way that it's matching all the descriptions, so that we might remember some verses about Krishna, because at some point the devotee yearns that we're going to experience Krishna. It's not just going to be this kind of dull, rigorous, I'm following all the rules, I'm trying to do this, and I have no taste, but eventually some experience of bhakti will happen. I mean, that's the hope. It might take some lifetimes, but it's the hope that will eventually happen. So one thing devotees often do is they'll remember verses of describing the Lord, like this one. Now we usually don't, it's not recommended we remember come on down, no problem. Yes. Good morning. If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to. Yeah, cool. So, we're talking about the mystic yoga descriptions of the Vedas. She's a yogi. So, I don't know if do you know much about the yogic texts? We can get her a pillow or something that she could sit on with us. So, but we're studying some of the mystic yoga texts. You've probably heard of a very common yoga text, like the Bhagavad Gita, you've heard of before. So this is like, the Bhagavad Gita is like a GED, and this is like a college education of mystic yoga studies. So it's actually talking about how you've probably heard of the chakra system and so on. It's talking about the description that when the yogi experiences the chakras blossoming and opening, that there's actually what's called a Paramatma, a supreme soul that awakens in there, and it's actually a form of God, and it's a very far out thing, but it's describing how the yogis can actually experience God, and it's describing what he looks like and what's the experience of the yogi, and so it's pretty cool. But anyway, so we're just we're kind of looking at that and getting some commentary on that. But before Mo, it's Mo, right? Welcome, Mo. Before Mo came down, I was saying something, and I didn't finish the thought. Do you guys remember?
Well, you were talking about how devotees will remember certain verses and stuff.
Oh, yes.
To describe Krishna.
Yes, so one of the reasons that a lot of the devotees will remember certain verses, so it teaches, because we're not always remembering to have an internal experience. Because the yogic philosophy, this might be news to you, Mo, but the yogic philosophy is such that everything we're experiencing outside is actually a reflection of the internal reality. And it's not real in the sense that it's temporary. We think, it being an illusion, we think the external and what we're perceiving through the external senses is reality. But the yoga conclusion is completely opposite than that. It says, no, these are a limited set of perceptive tools that you've been gifted, and it's actually, you're only perceiving an illusion. And then the real reality is the internal experience. So the real reality is perceived through the yogi in meditation. So but Krishna is so merciful that he's giving the process of bhakti to how to utilize all of these external things that we're so conditioned into, how to turn them into real, and how to direct them in direct perception towards the internal reality. So devotees, they will describe, they'll remember verses like Namijjate Bhavapushe Taridambaraya Gunjavatangsa Paripichila Sanmukaya Vanyeshraje Kavalavetra Vishana Venu Lakshma Shriye Mridupade Pashupangajaya. So this is like Lord Brahma is describing what Krishna looks like in this verse. And so he's saying, I'm offering my obeisances no mijjate unto you. Bravapushe, your body is dark like the rain cloud, like a dark rain cloud. Tadidambaraya, your garment is like lightning. And Gunjavatangsa, you're decorated with gunja berries. So it's describing the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna. But this is actually internally experienced by the Bhakti yogi. So anyway, this is why also, if you remember some of these verses, some of these, when we approach the bhakti process, see paintings, see the deities, see, these internal revelations can come. That's why I was instructed actually to learn some of these verses for that reason. So because it will allow me to, remember, oh yes, this is about experiencing God. That's what life is about. That's what the yogis' life is about. But there's so many foundational teachings. Like this is the postgraduate study, but there's a whole spiritual GED that has to be understood, and that's what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching. So that'll have to be also applied first. But anyway, let's do maybe one or two more verses, and then we'll have a kirtan. So, Vibhushitang me kalayanguliyake. Oh, we did this one? Oh.
You read the
Yes, thank you. Okay. Adina lila hasitek shanolasad. Prubhangasam suchita boyanugraham. Iksheta chintamayama Iksheta chintamayam enam ishwaram
Sheta Chintamayam Enam Ishvaram
yavan manodharana yavatishtate.
Yavan Manodharanaya Patishite.
Adina, very magnanimous.
Very magnanimous.
Magnanimous means like generous and like also merciful, you know. Lila,
Lila.
pastimes. Hasita,
Hasita.
smiling.
Smart.
Ikshana,
Ikshana.
by glancing over.
Glancing.
Ulasat,
Ulasa.
glowing.
Yeah.
Brubanga,
Rubam.
signals of the eyebrow.
Signals
Sangsuchita,
of the-
indicated. Buri, extensive. Anugraham, benediction. Iksheta, one must concentrate on. Chintamayam, transcendental. Enam, this particular. Ishwaram, the Supreme Lord. Yavat, as long as. Mana, the mind. Dharanaya, by meditation. Avatishtate, can be fixed. So the Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. So this is, well, let's read the purport first before I say anything. Wow, this is going to get heavy. Hope you're in for it, Mo. So anyway, in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that the impersonalist undergoes a series of difficult programs on account of his impersonal meditation. But the devotee, due to the Lord's personal service, progresses very easily. Impersonal meditation is therefore a source of suffering for the impersonalist. Here the devotee has an advantage over the impersonalist philosopher. And the impersonalist is doubtful about the personal feature of the Lord, and therefore he always tries to meditate upon something which is not objective. For this reason, there is an authentic statement in the Bhagavatam regarding the positive concentration of the mind on the factual form of the Lord. So maybe just to pause here to just give some context that we can look at reality. We're looking at reality right now, or what we are perceiving as reality. And we see there are these life forms here. There's Madhav, Tanu, Mo, Craig. But we see billions of other people in this world, and billions of animals and trees and different life forms. And so quickly we understand those life forms came from their parents. Yes? Everyone can confirm that's how your body got here? Yes. And our parents' bodies came from?
Their parents.
Our grandparents. Wow, now we got it. And now, if we keep going back like this, over time, what we'd have to infer is that life is coming from life, and it's dependent on another previous life form, yes? So that eternally, if that's going back, there must be an independent life form that sets the chain into action. And everything is like this. How did anything get to be here? It's all dependent on other scientific forces, chemical reactions, this. But what is the initial thing that set it all off? So what's being described here, for impersonal things like matter, matter doesn't have, what makes something personal is it has a soul, which means it's aware, it has consciousness. But what makes something impersonal, like matter, it has no consciousness. The table is not conscious. But you are all conscious. But actually, your body is not conscious. If I take a knife, a hatchet, and I said, all right, Madhav, I'll chop your left hand. Say Madhav was a thief. They used to chop the hand of the thief off. And we took his hand. His hand now will become lifeless. Because that wasn't the thing that had the life, it's the soul that's animating the body that actually has the life. So these are all some different yogic sciences. It's not so easy to perceive, but you can actually perceive. If you think about it a bit deeply, you can actually, yes, that's true. So anyhow, if we consider the Lord impersonal, well, what's the force that brought matter into existence? And even our scientists, they're trying to meditate and conceive. They have all kinds of theories.
The God particle.
Yeah, they're even looking for the Higgs boson. What's that fundamental form that's giving form to all other forms of matter? And they call it the God particle. So they're meditating, but it's very difficult to understand if they don't know that there is a personality that gave life to all the other life forms. It's very difficult for them to have any deep realization. That's why Krishna, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, the impersonalist also is trying, but they have a much more difficult path ahead of them than the personalist. But the one who meditates on me, they can very easily make advancement. If we realize God is a person and we have a relationship with God, it actually makes the yoga process, we can advance far quicker. So that's what's being described here, just trying to give the context in this purport. And then God also has many amazing activities called leelas, which are also going to be described. I don't think we will maybe get through this one verse, and that's it. That's what we have to be done for today. So anyway, the process of meditation recommended herein is bhakti yoga, or the process of devotional service, after one is liberated from the material conditions. Jnana yoga is the process of liberation from the material conditions. After one is liberated from the conditions of material existence, for example, when one is nivritta, as previously stated herein, or when one is freed from all material necessities, one becomes qualified to discharge the process of bhakti yoga. So therefore, bhakti yoga includes jnana yoga, or in other words, the process of pure devotional service simultaneously serves the purpose of jnana yoga. Liberation from material conditions is automatically achieved by the gradual development of pure devotional service. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, more context is needed. Now, he gives different processes of yoga, the 4 main processes of yoga. Do you know the 4 main processes of yoga he gives? Karma yoga is the first. Take Sankhya is a form of jnana yoga, and Ashtanga yoga is what's being described here as this mystic yoga, and then the highest is bhakti yoga. And they actually are all evolutions into the next one. So by karma yoga, you take your work, your activities, karma is activity, your work in this world, and you try and offer it to, you give up the, what is that called, the Sanskrit? I just learned it the other day, darn. Anyway, you give up the idea that this is meant for your enjoyment. The fruits. I'm working for the fruits of something. That I'm doing this for the higher cause. I'm doing this for, you might have some spiritual realization, maybe an impersonal realization of God or the universe or something, but I'm doing this for the higher dharma, and I'm not doing this for my own enjoyment. So this is actually called yoga. We're using your work in yoga. So when you do like that, what'll happen is you'll eventually stop being so engaged in doing, because most of the time people are doing activities or karma in this world because they want something. I'm going to work every day because I want a paycheck. I want a paycheck because I've got a family I want to do this, that, and the other with. Or I got a trip I want to take. And we're doing so many activities because we think that happiness lies out there in these external things. But what happens is the karma yogi, he realizes that no, happiness doesn't exist out there. Happiness actually exists in the yoga process, to be engaged in yoga. Yoga means to link or connect with the divine reality. So I will do my work, my karma, but in yoga. I'm not doing it for my own, to try to keep getting more things in this world. I'm doing it as just my sacred duty. And then what'll happen is you'll have so much more time in your life, and also by engaging in yoga, the next process of yoga opens up, jnana yoga. And jnana yoga is to begin to actually distinguish what is reality here. What is matter? What is spirit? Who am I? What's going on here? And that can all be actually perceived, like we study the elements of this world, right? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhumir apo nalo vayu, kang mano buddhir evacha. What's the next part? Ahankara ahankarang itas. I don't know why. Ahankara itas tvanyam maybe, and then anyway. Bina Prakritir Ashtanam. These are the separated material energies, and it's describing earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are the unconscious matter in this world. But then there's also the higher elements, which is described the souls, the living entities. So anyway, this is describing all these things. But that's what Jnana Yoga is actually realizing what is spirit, what is matter, what causes suffering, engagement in the external reality, engaging in karma of this world causes suffering. But the karma yogi, he engages in whatever duties he has left, and he engages them in yoga, and then he becomes eligible for jnana. And then jnana, he'll realize that, I don't want to engage in karma anymore. I don't need any of these fruits for my happiness. Actually, my happiness is within me. In the yoga process, these things can't make me happy. Matter, something temporary can never make you permanently happy. Does that make sense? How can something temporary make you permanently happy? We all want a steady happiness, a lasting happiness. But we seek temporary experiences and temporary things to do that. Because we're actually in what's called, in the yoga, maya, or illusion. We think, this will make me happy, surely. If I get just this job and this amount of money, I'll surely be happy. But that job and that amount of money is a temporary experience and give you a finite amount of happiness. And then in some time, you'll need something else to make you happy. And you'll keep chasing and keep chasing. And then your body will keep degrading and you'll keep aging and you'll keep going towards death. And at the end, you find, I never was happy. And now what do I do? I'm about to approach death. And no one wants to approach death. Anyone here excited for that aspect of life? No, most people are not excited to die. But it's like a necessary thing. So the jnani, he realizes this all. That this is not where happiness lies. I must, distinguish what is matter, what is spirit, what actually gives suffering. And they actually get freed from suffering. Because they don't engage in the activities that cause suffering. Because suffering happens because we are attached to certain results happening. But if we're not attached to any results happening, there's nothing to suffer for. You see, it's not the circumstances that cause suffering. It's actually the attachment to the expectation of what you wanted that causes suffering. Like, let's just say, Tanu was expecting me to talk about the FIFA World Cup today in class, and she had a big expectation about that. And then I come here and I start talking about all this technical yoga meditation stuff. And she's like, terrible. This was a terrible class. I suffered so much in this class because I was expecting him to talk about the World Cup and he talked about this stuff. Then, but if Tanu is just open, all right, coming here, what it is, there, and she doesn't have any expectation, she is nothing that will cause her suffering. Like, all right, yeah, that was cool. That's fine. So like this. So this is why we suffer in this world. But the jnani actually knows this. But it's from the platform of jnana, from the liberated platform, that actually this bhakti yoga can arise. That one realizes, okay, it's like getting in debt. When you're in debt, you're like in the red. So how am I going to get out of debt? Debt is suffering. I'm suffering in this world. I'm engaging in activities that are guaranteeing my suffering. Like when we go out and perform karma, what you're pretty much doing is saying, yes, I am going to get myself in debt. I'm going to suffer. But the jnana yogi, he says, okay, I'm not trying to suffer anymore. I know what is matter. I know what is spirit. I know what actually where happiness comes, and it's an internal process. I'm not doing that anymore. And he stops and he gets out of debt. But now, the jnani is now in the meditative. He begins Ashtanga yoga, begins to meditate. But then he's like, well, now what? I'm free from debt. I'm perceiving internal reality. I feel peaceful. But where is the actual blissful experience of life? And actually, that is the experience when God reveals oneself to the living entity internally. So this is And the experience with God and the activities between God and the living entities, because there are them, that's where real profit is made in our endeavors in life. So anyway, these are things that are described. But let's try to... Where did we end here? We may not be able to finish today because we're running out of time. Maybe 5 minutes more. So therefore, Bhakti Yoga... No, I read that. These effects of Bhakti Yoga are called anartha nivritti. So overcoming the obstacles that are causing you suffering. Things which are artificially acquired gradually disappear along the process of Bhakti Yoga. Meditation on the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, the first processional step, must show its effect by anartha nivritti. The grossest type of anartha, which binds the conditioned soul in material existence, is sex desire. And this sex desire gradually develops in the union of the male and female. And also now it's happening... this was written a long time ago, but now it's everywhere, everything. When the male and female are united, the sex desire is further aggravated by the accumulation of buildings, children, friends, relatives, and wealth. So more of the external things, more and more become prominent. When all these are acquired, the conditioned soul becomes overwhelmed by such entanglements, and the false sense of egoism or the sense of myself and mine becomes prominent, and the sex desire expands to various political, social, altruistic, philanthropic, and many other unwanted engagements. Unwanted from the yogi's perspective, but from the ordinary people of the world, these are all the wanted things. Yes, I want to have big buildings and children and expansive friends and relatives and wealth. I want all these things, even though we don't realize they cause us so much suffering. And having to lose each and every one of these things as we approach death causes the most suffering, actually. This is... and we all can, we can see it. No one likes watching your relatives go, and they don't like going. Nobody likes going. But if you keep trying to, through the generation, the creative force that expands things in this world, like our bodies all came here through sex desire. It's a little gross. We don't want to talk about it, but that's how we all got here. But that's how the chain keeps continuing. But this also, as was described in a few verses earlier, it engages us in like an endless river of suffering, actually. So anyway, what to do? The condition... where was this last bit? Resembling... Okay, so in philanthropic and many other unwanted engagements, resembling the foam of the sea waves, which becomes very prominent at one time and in the next moment vanishes as quickly as a cloud in the sky. The conditioned soul is encircled by such products, as well as products of sex desire, and therefore Bhakti Yoga leads to gradual evaporation of the sex desire, which is summarized in 3 headings, namely profit, adoration, and distinction. So these are the 3 kind of expansions of what begins a sex desire. We want to become, profitable, wealthy in many things. We want to be adored by people, reputation, and we want to be distinct. We want to be, I'm better than you, and I'm this and that, look at me, I'm this type of personality. But these things are, they're not valuable at all, and they actually lead to all kinds of misery. All conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire, and one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based primarily on the sex desire. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see to the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. The sex desire is diminished along with its various forms by the process of Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga automatically, by the grace of the Lord, effectively results in knowledge and renunciation, even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. So this is, it's compared to like eating food. When you eat food, you gain strength, you are satisfied, and your hunger goes away. When you're hungry, you're like have some like, I have to eat. And then you eat, and then you're like, I'm satisfied. And then also your body gets weak when you're hungry. So similarly, by the taking of bhakti yoga, like food, our right now we're hungry for sex desire. That everyone in this material world, that's what everyone is hungry for. And then the expansions of sex desire, profit, adoration, distinction, all these things we want to create for our ego in this world, which isn't even us. But anyway, that's a whole nother problem. But actually, by this process of bhakti yoga and being engaged in the yoga process and being connected to who you really are, what happens is you'll know you're making advancement, that the sex desire is just like the hankering for hunger. It lessens when you eat. The hankering for sex desire will also lessen as you engage in the process. And what will come? You'll get knowledge. You'll be engaged in all these finer knowledge of what reality is, and you'll be detached from all of these material things. So this is to the degree that we make advancement. It's to the degree that these things, it's not like, oh yes, I'm a great bhakti yogi, and I'm a very, very prominent sexual personality. They don't really go inside. It's not like, yes, I'm so filled, but I'm so hungry. They're opposites, actually. So, but anyway, these things are, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but we're going to end here because this is a big topic and we'll probably have to continue with it tomorrow. But anyhow, just the last thing we read, I don't even know how we got there. Prabhupada is taking us on a journey. The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord, as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. So, what we'll do now, and then we'll have breakfast, is we will end this here. Thank you guys for sitting and hearing. Thank you, Mo, for coming and being part of the experience.